Hi, welcome to another learning time with Grow with Shim. Today we'll be looking at routing policy and okay, so for someone to because I've done something at the back end. So before you can do this, you have to, create an EC2 instance. I think I have a video concerning that. I created a load balancer and I've already, I bought a domain from a domain provider and I actually pointed into AWS. So I've done that. This is my domain here. So click on Route 53. I'm on Route 53. So I click on hosted zone. So this is my domain here, heritageit.name.ng. So if you, for example, if you maybe if you bought your domain from GoDaddy, for example, you are going to click on the hosted zone here and input your domain name, and this is what you are going to just provide so that it can point to Amazon. So you are going to just provide this NS, which is name server, to point it to Amazon, and that is all. So what we are going to do today is just routing policy. We have different routing policy that we are going to talk about today. So firstly, let's create a simple routing policy. So click on create record here. So this is routing policy here. So we are looking at simple routing. So let's say simple. So it's on a record. So what we are trying to do when we say simple routing policy, for example, we have a Facebook. Facebook has an IP address, and I'm very sure most of us doesn't know what the IP address of Facebook is. We just know that we have facebook.com, and when we enter or input facebook.com, what happened at the back end is that this request is being routed to an IP address. So what we mean is that simple routing is going to route the traffic to an IP address, right? So instead of saying maybe 8.8.8.8, we can say facebook.com. So that domain name, right, that is going to route the IP, right, domain name to an IP address. So it's going to route the traffic from that domain name, which is facebook.com, to an IP address. So you don't need to know the IP address of Facebook. What you need to know is the domain name, right? So simple.heritage.it.name.ng. So I'm just going to provide one of the EC2 instance that I have created. I'm going to provide the IP address. So I have one here. So going to click on that. So this EC2 is located in Singapore. So I'm just going to paste that, change the TTL, and click on create record. So I have the IP address 54.179, right? So let's click on that. I just want to show something, and let's come here. So we have this, right? So let's go back and just use the record name instead of the IP address, the record name now. And see that we are going to have the same thing, AP Southeast 1. That's what we are going to have. Can you see? AP South are the same. So instead of the IP address, we are using the record name, right? So let's create another one. We have another record, right? So let's say alias, this alias here, click on alias. So what alias actually do is that we are going to route traffic, right, to any of these resources. So I've already created a load balancer, so I have a load balancer. So I'm going to route my traffic to my load balancer, right? So it's located at AP Southeast 1. So I'm going to just pick the balancer name, and that is all. So create record. So alias dot heritage, so it's going to give us the same thing, right? So we routed, now we do not route it to IP, so we routed it to our load balancer. That is what alias is. So if you want to route your traffic to any resources, we have different resources, so we just use example of a load balancer. So let's see another routing policy. We have weighted, so let's look at weighted. So what weighted is, we are going to, okay, let me just pick the IP address, yeah, for the Singapore, right? So I'm going to give it to 70 weights. Southeast. Okay, so let me just explain what weighted actually means. Weighted means that we are going to create like two weighted policy, and what it means is that, you know, when we want to route the traffic, it will route the traffic to the one that has the highest weight. For example, let me create another record. I have another instance weighted, so I have another instances that is hosted in US is 1, right? So I picked the IP address, so let's go. And weighted, so we're going to give it, this was to 30, right? 30 US East. So let's create record. So we have 70 and we have 30. So let's see. Now we want to we have 70, we have 30. Now for the 70 is located in Southeast, AP Southeast 1, while the 30 is located in US East 1, right? So I'm going to pick of 30 now. Let's see 30. This 30 is, the IP address is located in US East 1. It's routed to AP Southeast 1 because the AP Southeast 1 has the highest weight, right? So if the AP, the one that has the highest weight, if the resource is down, right, then it can move to 30. So let's look at the last record, and we will continue looking at the order. So let's look at latency. So latency. So let's pick our IP address for AP Southeast. So what latency Singapore. So what latency routing policy is that, okay, for example, if I'm in Africa, and there is an if I have a resource, right, in we have an availability zone in South Africa, we have one at Europe, right? So if my resource is in, for example, is in South Africa and is in Europe, and I based in Africa, for example, I will be routed to the nearest availability zone, which is South Africa. So that is what latency is all about. So it will route you to the closest availability zone where your resource is. That is what latency is all about. Okay. So this one is southeast. So let's create another one. Latency. Let's pick the US one, the IP. Latency. US East. Create record. Okay, so we have created latency, we created simple, we created weighted, and I hope you have learned something in this class. I hope you have learned something, and see you again in the next video. Thank you.